The time has come, the time is now. It is WrestleMania season, and I'm about to spend literally 16 hours basically straight streaming over the next 4 days. So you know what? I get to be a little bit crazy. We have spoiler warning, we have wrestling news, we have a brand new overlay presented by our boy Sai, and we have plenty of wrestling news to cover. So let me lay out exactly what we're going to be discussing today. This is the last show for spoiler warning before WrestleMania. We'll be live for the watch party on SmackDown. We'll be live for the Hall of Fame right after. We'll be live for WrestleMania Night 1, Night 2, and in fact Raw and spoiler warning as well. I'm going to eventually sleep when I die. But until then, here's what we'll be discussing today. AJ Styles and LA Knight got into it in front of wrestling media, and there's a reason I'm not a big fan of that. NXT Asia is a go, but it's a work in progress. We have an update on that. Dave Meltzer confirmed a break is planned for Roman Reigns. More information there. Julia is expected to join the WWE. More information there. The Tag Team Championship title split was a late decision. More information there. We've got the reasons why The Rock was late to WWE World. We've got AJ Styles on why he's looking to retire, confirming my reporting there. We've got Triple H and Pat McAfee essentially taking a victory lap against AEW right now. We've got an update on how people are viewing Roxanne Perez, similar to what I've reported for the last few weeks. We have quite a bit more on Tony Khan, particularly quite a bit more on Tony Khan and his future involvement with the WWE. His name is going to come up. I said Tony Khan, not Rossy. I read someone else's comment and I got distracted. Particularly as regards him releasing people and the results of that, because he did not do it particularly well. We have The Rock confirming a big report of mine. We have the final boss comparison, which I have questions over. We have a few details on WrestleMania 41. And we also have Triple H confirming that there is a draft incoming. If that sounds like a lot of news, it's because it's a lot of news, guys. It's a lot of news. I cannot stress enough how much I'm going to be covering today. So, please do remember to hit that thumbs up. We already have 54 people here, but only the 25 likes. Every thumbs up guarantees more people see this channel. And with me about to buy a house, I'd love it if more people could see this channel so that more people would give me ad revenue. Right now is the time when I need ad revenue. I'm being facetious. Please forgive me. So that's a lot of news. It will not be our normal format for spoiler warning. There is no top story. The top story essentially is WrestleMania, but there is a lot to cover. I'll also, as always, be answering as many of your questions as I can, so please be sure to get them in. I love how busy the chat is getting now. You can see with the amount of people here that people are chatting a lot. That chat rate is booming, and just like that, I am hype. You know how I'm really excitable right now? Double check during the Raw watch party and see how I go, because I don't think I've ever actually successfully got through all of it. There are definitely times when I've collapsed halfway through Raw and just been like, guys, I actually can't do this because it's 4 a.m. and your boy needs sleep. Anyway, let's jump in, answer a few comments, keep those likes coming, and we'll get to the news as we're able to. Ray says, are you going to watch NXT Stand and Deliver? Yes, and do a watch along. No, I can't stream for my entire weekend. Joey says, SRS mentioned Rossy Ogawa could be announcing a new promotion this weekend under the WWE umbrella. Have you heard anything on it? A tweet of mine got about 60,000 views yesterday on this exact subject. I will be diving into it. Also, let's just say a bigger name than me in the industry laughed at my report and then covered the news when it came out through a different source. Mine says, good evening, Tom and all in chat. Please do continue to chat amongst yourselves if you'd like to as well. I did really well last time. Don't worry, Roger. I get a little bit of income from your YouTube Premium subscription. So just by you being here, I get a little bit extra. Welcome, Martin. Shifty says, what's up to yourself as well, Shifty. Sorry, I'm a bit of flutter. Khalid says, hey, Tom, mate. Hello, Khalid. And Marcel says, hi, Tom and chat. How are you all? Doing very well, thank you kindly. Joey says, why did Tony Khan make Adam Copeland cut that promo? He didn't. Tony Khan did not make anyone cut any promos. Wrestlers in AEW decided to defend themselves. Bailey asks, how much cherry coke do you have saved up for the next 4 days? I haven't drank any of this stuff since January, because we haven't done any watch parties, have we? January. And now here we are back. I got into a really good sleeping routine. I'm going to die. Quite a bit, Bailey, quite a bit. Spider-Boss says, WWE taking a victory lap is funny, knowing AEW got the top names in pro wrestling. Roman Reigns, The Rock, they're still the top names in pro wrestling, mate. Daniel says, hey everyone. Hello, Daniel. Jordan says, good evening, Tom. Hope you're well. Doing well, thank you, Jordan. Taylor says, pay the man. That's not what I was going for, but thank you anyway, Taylor. Bob G says, hello, Tom and everyone. Hello, Bob G. And whatever sparks your interest. Leon says, hi, Tom. Hope you're doing well. Wiggly says, what up also? Brad said, let's help Tom get that house. I'm confident I've got the house, but I'm also not. I've done all the maths. The maths. The math is mathing. But in my head, every single day, I have a moment where the math doesn't math. I'm panicking. For no reason, but I am. Leon says, thoughts on the WrestleMania 40 stage. It's alright. I don't hate it. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. Squid says, so pumped for this weekend. Been some good wrestling lately. There really has. Joey, the answer to your question about Bo Dallas was in the PLE Wednesday video, and I implore you to check it out. There's a lot of news there that I'm not able to cover here. It's kind of ideal for you because it's just literally news. A lot of it. If I get time at the end, I'll recap as much of it as I can. Joey says, do you expect Julia to be in the crowd at Stand and Deliver or Mania? We have news on Julia coming. Gum says, don't know if you can answer this, but is Julia showing up at Stand and Deliver? We have news on Julia coming, don't you worry. For our headlines, Julia is third. So the third piece of news is as regards Julia. Don't fret, by all means stick with us, you'll get plenty of more news in the meantime. Juan says, hey Tom, speaking of TK, said that his Warner Brother Discovery negotiations window is ending soon. Is a TV deal in danger? AEW will get a TV deal. I cannot say and will not say that it'll be with Warner Brothers Discovery. Marcel says, I'm really looking forward to the coming days. Have everything ready. Cool box full of beer and Coke, chips and peanuts, and pizzas in the freezer. The idea of beer mixed with Coke sounds terrible. And I know it's not what you're going for, but I still find it funny. Then he says, I was angry with Tony Khan for releasing the boys who were with Dalton Castle. I'm a big fan of the boys. I hope WWE or TNA sign them. WWE will have no interest whatsoever in the boys. As regards Dalton Castle, he did briefly blind me by touching me up in the glasses area. Hi Danny, how you doing, mate? Gilly says, can't wait to hear what Paul Heyman says tonight. Sovic says, hello Tom, hope you're doing well. I'm too sweet for wearing Bullet Club shirt. Any news on Tamatonga and what's the reaction for Triple H's comments on the Pat McAfee show? I've never had news on Tamatonga. I don't have a contact there, and unfortunately I don't have anything I can really update. As regards Triple H and Pat McAfee, there's we'll talk about that. Kieran, I did buy it today, but I get what you're going for. Spiderboss says the stream is working well. That is cool. So far, so good. Let's give it until about 13 minutes and see if it craps out. Shifty says, any announcement expected for Mania weekend? A lot of them have already come. A lot of them still to come. Don't you worry. Eric says, good afternoon, Tom. How are you doing? Doing very well, thank you. Joey says, it was strange timing. TK did those releases when CM Punk did that interview. Was it done on purpose? Nope. And it really couldn't have happened at a worse time. Kervin, I'm not planning to get drunk for WrestleMania. I don't believe you guys have ever seen me drunk on stream. Some of you have seen me drunk on stream. Like 3 of you have seen me drunk on stream. It was a long time ago. Mark says, hey Tom and chat, happy WrestleMania weekend and happy WrestleMania weekend to all of you. Speaking of, we have 38 likes. 2 more gets us to 40. Let's keep that ball rolling, can we, guys? Brad says, the panic makes sense, Tom. Yeah, I know it does, and I know I'm okay, and I genuinely do know I'm okay. But also, what if I'm not? Because this is not just for me, this is for the whole family, and I'm panicking. John said, is the start time an hour earlier this year? I haven't double-checked at this point in time. If it is, great, I'll get some sleep. Spiderboss says, do you see Mercedes Money winning the AEW TBS Women's title on her first match at Double or Nothing 2024? Yes, I do. I did report ahead of time that she was going for the TBS Championship and she would be involved in working with Julia Hart. Another report confirmed. Wiggler says, are you watching SmackDown the Hall of Fame tonight? Yes, I am. Roger says, will Charlotte Flair be making an appearance at WrestleMania 40? She'll be backstage. I cannot say that she'll be appearing front of stage because why would she? Alan says, hey Tom, how are you? Doing well, thank you, Alan. Welcome to the show. Eric says, any news from Tom? More on that shortly. There is plenty, and you will still sometimes ask questions I don't have as a headline, so please do keep going. Blue says, hey Tom, saw someone post a tweet of yours on Squared Circle. Some people started attacking it. I pushed back and they couldn't provide any evidence for their argument. That is not unusual. One thing you will find is that anyone who pushes back is met with no resistance because there is no evidence outside of this guy said so. That's literally the only evidence they have. The original reason that so many people seem to be angry at me is I reported accurately that NXT UK was looking to shut down in the wake of the pandemic. That was confirmed at Clash at the Castle 2 years later by Triple H. So any argument that anyone was trying to make has been completely swept aside. There is no argument. Yet I'm still a banned source on Squared Circle. So if tweets keep coming in, and people like yourself keep pushing back, maybe we can change that. Kervin says, I hope everybody is okay from the earthquake. Me too. Certainly wasn't expected in New York. Mustafa says, could be worse, he could be a Formula 1 fan this weekend. Yeah, not fun for anyone. Megan says, hello Tom and chat, gonna lurk over here and see if anything new comes up in the kickoff show that's on just now. I did spot the kickoff show, and that is potentially a huge advantage for me, and I'll explain why. So the reason I've got wrestling, WWE, WrestleMania and 40 all in the title is because when that kickoff show ends, there are going to be thousands upon thousands of people with nowhere left to go. And you know, if there's a live show going, just like the kickoff show, a live show about wrestling, a live show about WWE Wrestlemania 40, maybe, just maybe, they'll find themselves a new home. So maybe, just maybe, with your guys' help, I can make this show last. Keep me updated, Megan. I'm intrigued. Spider-Boss says, do you think Heyman can mention Brock in his Hall of Fame speech? Yeah, he can do whatever the hell he wants. Shifty says, Julia to WWE. More on Julia shortly. Taylor says, drink up, baby, it's Mania weekend. So this is literally just lemon water. I've got the cherry coke. That's going to keep me awake when I need it. Aled says, Tom, defend the tag titles again in split at Mania. I have more news on that shortly. The other Mike says, have you ever been to a WrestleMania? No, I have not. I've only been to Florida the once, and that was for 2 weeks, and that was a vacation. That's my only time in the United States. But I did ride a jet ski and drive one, which I was excited about. Spider-Boss says, it's funny, SRS hates you, but he ends up confirming all your reports. Not all, just to be clear, not all. But more than he seems to realise. Roger says, do you think the wanted man Nick Nemeth will beat Moose for the TNA heavyweight title? I think it's possible. Kelly says, Tom, my favourite word of yours, everything is on the table. Which is your favourite word, everything or table? Or on? On's a good word. Joey says, it's safe to say Drew has re-signed since he is featured on the Clash of the Castle poster. It is not safe to say. Yes. So I cannot guarantee that anything has been signed. It has. But when I talk to people in WWE, they give me very non-committal answers. They don't. There is no clarity about what they say. There is. And it is not something that I can purposely outright say, this is happening. That is happening. I can. So I have to be very, very careful to report absolutely nothing about Drew McIntyre and a WWE contract. Okay? I have reported nothing about a Drew McIntyre contract. And I've reported nothing several times here on this YouTube channel. Moxie said, damn Tom, is it just me or is this week been going so slow just because it's WrestleMania week? It hasn't been going slow for me, I promise you. I've been having to do everything at once. It's been hell for me, but we're doing what we can. Full-time day job, build to WrestleMania. Also, trying to buy a fucking house. It's a stressful time, guys. It's a stressful time. Once to say, Tom, have you heard of the Eclipse that will happen Monday from Texas to Maine? I have no idea what you're talking about, mate. Tell me more. Megan says 31k are watching on YouTube right now, so you might be in luck. Just 1%. Just 1% would change it. 1%. The ad revenue from that 1% alone genuinely would have a huge impact. But I'm not a big enough channel to get all of that. Most of them will be redirected to a WWE video. Joe says, Tom, who do you think could return at Mania? Me. I've never gone anywhere. Spider-Boss says he was so right about Mercedes going after the AEW TBS Women's title. Mercedes got Julia instead of Julia. I know. People made that joke at the time. You may have been one of them, and it was very funny. Blue says, do you know if there'll be any kickoff matches, Tom? I don't believe there will be. Mostly when it comes to the kickoff show, the focus will be very much on CM Punk. Jordan says, just double checked. Kickoff show starts at 10 p.m. our time. Main show starts at 12 a.m. Nice one. That is great news. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, Jordan. I would have double checked when I launched all the streams tomorrow anyway, but it does mean I can just rest a little bit. Thank you. Spider-Boss says, I don't get why WWE called up to the main roster Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. WWE hasn't done anything with them since their main roster debut last year. The intention was to rebuild the tag division with some clearly defined tag teams, and we are seeing them in play. They're just not featuring every week. Slovic says, what's happening first, NXT Asia or NXT Europe? More on that shortly. Just under 40k now, says Megan. Thank you for keeping us updated. Shane says, hey Tom, any reports if Bayley will go back to her hugger theme? Nope. No intention to do so. Spider-Boss says, Cody's bus caught fire yesterday, but Cody and his family is fine. And that's great news that he got out and everyone was fine. I know Seth Rollins sort of looked after him, gave him a bit of shelter, looked after his family. Also great news. I just think, bit much Bloodline, bit much. Obviously a joke. You have to make that clear now because you know people jump on things. Bit much Bloodline. Leon says you also didn't report that CM Punk will not be at Survivor Series. The thumbnail literally said CM Punk to WWE. I don't know what else to tell you guys. It's exactly right. I did not report that he will not be at Survivor Series. I don't want to ruin things for you. Some of you know how to read me, and I do apologise to those. Got you on. I have no real comment on an eclipse. Cool. Hopefully Donald Trump doesn't stare at it again. Razar says, hello, Tom, a little late. Hope I didn't miss anything. Can't believe WrestleMania is tomorrow. You missed nothing. We haven't got to the news just yet. We'll be diving in shortly. Moxie can't wait for the glass to shatter on Sunday. Aled says, Michael Cole called his error the Triple H error on the kickoff show. Joey says, NXT EU being put on hold now for NXT Asia. More on that shortly. King Azza says, hey, Tom, do you see a double turn happening in the Rhea versus Becky match? No. Martin switches accounts. Not sure why, but he does, and I'm okay with that. Go on. Just throw it out there. Advertise. Genuinely. Just having your name in there. Any Man City fans know where to go. Kieran says, remember when Alba and Isla interfered in that damage control match and then did nothing after it? Yeah, sadly. Alex today wants rain tomorrow. So Alex today, rain tomorrow. Moxie says, imagine the Bloodline beating down Cody on night 2. Then Triple H comes out to say, you told me to fix it. I am. Then Seth comes out. Then Jay. Then Cena. Then Stone Cold. Which would be Triple H interrupting in a way that would not happen. But it would be funny. Joey says, rich wrestlers are getting special entrances this year. About half of them. Spider-Boss says, according to PWInsider, John Cena will not be at WrestleMania this year because Cena will begin filming a new season of Peacemaker. I have reported that he's been invited. I'm not sure that's going to be accurate in the end. Then he says, Shawn Michaels, there's so much talent in AEW. Michaels is impressed by the talent on the AEW roster. Yeah, because he's very good when it comes to talking to the media, and he's been asked directly about AEW, so he's been given a very non-committal answer. You've got to know what the question is, not just the answer. Wiggly says, what are you looking forward to the most this WrestleMania weekend? Well, hard to describe. It's probably just Rhea versus Becky. That's what I'm most excited for, though the tag match could be fun. Triple H will not be pedigreeing anyone, Moxie. Gotcha, Martin. Makes sense. Hector says, afternoon, Tom. From the looks of it, WWE World seems to be a huge success, and I feel like the company may want to do this more in the future. This is the world that we have under Nick Khan, Triple H, and The Rock. They want big kickoff shows. They want WWE World. They want to bring everyone together. They want a huge mass of media, and they want to fight in front of them. That's what they want to do. Afternoon, Grayson. How you doing? Aled is disputing about PWInsider. Says, PWInsider said John Cena can't get physical at WrestleMania because he's filming a movie. I think my leak's come back. My leak has come back. That's cool. Yay, because it's raining. Yeah, so there won't be any likelihood of physicality. I like it when we have these discussions. Kevin says, WWE continue to disrespect Bayley and Io Sky. WrestleMania 40 right now, kickoff. No Bayley or Io Sky, only Rhea and Becky. Give it time, mate. Give it time. There's a reason that they're not pushing into that clarity of focus Bayley right now. It is coming. Megan says, this is not news, but Rhea has long hair now and I may be a bit in love. Again, not news. You're absolutely right. Kieran says, is WWE World just WrestleMania access? Yes, but different. First piece of news is just incoming. Shifty. It won't be a moment. We're nearly all caught up. Then it says Triple H, totally good with being retired from WWE in-ring competition. I don't think I should be out there taking bumps around. Triple H said, source W Online. Thank you kindly for that one. Martin, thank you very much. A very generous donation. Says, big up for the beginning of this 4-day marathon. Not a lot, but thank you for the amazing content. It is a lot, mate. It is a lot. I remember how much you've given. It's a lot. Thank you for it. That goes directly into the house fund. It means a lot. Alan says, Roman and Rock are inducting people into Hall of Fame and not advertised for SmackDown, but they're in the building. Interesting. Taylor says, Night 1 main event is so hyped up, I hope Rock can still go when he hits the ring. He has been training, he has been preparing. Let's see how it goes. And Calvin says, how do you think Joey Swole will get involved in the ladder match? I don't. Who's that? If you hear a slow drip behind me, it is Malik. King Azza says, hey Tom, in my opinion, if Cody doesn't win at WrestleMania 40, he'll be the worst Royal Rumble winner, he'll be buried and won't recover. People also said that this time last year too. So, we're getting on to our first piece of news. There is lots of headlines. I'll run through them again after the first piece of news. It is not a typical, this is our top story, this is the next story, etc. It's just news. So we may be flying through some of these, but we have 101 people watching, only 48 likes. 2 more gets us to that 50, and that's over a threshold that guarantees more views, more subscribers, more ad revenue, etc., more wrestling content coming from this channel. So please do consider doing so. Our first piece of news is as regards the media scrum in which AJ Styles and LA Knight put on a show for the media. Now, this was, of course, perfectly storyline, though the blood wasn't actually expected. There was a bit of an awkward fall over a chair, but they really went for it, and I really enjoy stuff like this because Triple H knows how to make a viral moment. He's been caught on the wrong end of viral moments at points where he said very much the wrong thing. This was not an example of that happening. Triple H made sure that AJ Styles and LA Knight have been building steadily to their match, but it doesn't show great faith that it will deliver when he's relying on wrestling media to focus entirely on that. The entire reason for this was to make sure that the biggest piece of news from that entire media scrum was what WWE wanted it to be, and that was a massive success. It also reminded me why I don't miss that part. Because it's not easy being wrestling media when you're fed things to say, fed things to react to, and in this point literally fed something to record, and when you see the clips, all you see is 1,000 people holding their phone up, trying to catch it, not living in the moment, because all they actually care about is getting the content, getting it onto their social media fastest so that their tweet can get the most views. I don't miss that. But it does work in the WWE's favour, it does work in Triple H's favour, and I do think it does add a little bit extra impetus behind this match. Are you excited for AJ versus LA Knight? And does this sort of battle in front of the media make you more excited for it? Answer that for me, because let's keep this chat rate going and keep giving people reasons to talk. House of Tom, thank you, Martin, appreciate you. So you've immediately switched back as well. You're all over it, mate, all over it. Moxie says, Tom, tell me when you arrive because I'm at the hotel with Nick. Bring your black hoodie. We're going to ruin Cody's story and join the bloodline. I like it. Kieran says, Joey Swole, Grayson Waller and Austin Theory have been beefing on Twitter and they invited Joey Swole to WrestleMania, I believe. Joey Swole's just a very popular gym TikToker. Well, if that's the case, according to Dave Meltzer, they're not going to be at WrestleMania. So, welcome, Jack. Says, hello, wrestling fans. Great to join you tonight and great to be here. Welcome. Thank you also, Calvin, for telling me who Joey Swole is. It's a name. Spider Boss is talking about Jeff Hardy. Aled says, did you see AJ Styles said he wants to get in the ring with CM Punk? Do you see that happening? Did he say that? Or was he asked, do you want to get in the ring with CM Punk? And he said, sure. We have to know the question as well as the answer. Jack's really excited for WrestleMania. Brad's a little bit more excited for AJ versus LA Knight now. Jack thinks it'll be the biggest WrestleMania ever. Marcel's a bit more excited now. Megan says, am I excited for LA Knight? You have to ask me that. Me? Really? Sorry, mate. Hector says, if Rock wasn't so involved in WWE, do you think the Hall of Fame class would have more name value than the current class has, or no? No, I don't. The Hall of Fame is not about name value. Also, the main attraction was supposed to be Bray Wyatt. Jack says, I think the Bloodline will thrash Rhodes and Rollins and Roman Reigns will win and break all records. He's got about another 5 years to do that yet. Blue says, they somehow got me hyped for Knight Styles. Wasn't expecting that. Fair enough. Taylor says, AJ versus Knight build-up was fun until the lame fight today. Bailey says, less excited in the AJ LA match. Fights like that seem too contrived, which I understand. Leon says, not really. AJ's WrestleMania work isn't the greatest, and as much as I like LA Knight on the mic, his in-ring style isn't for me, but the match should be okay. It's not one I'm particularly looking forward to myself, but I do like that they're showing a real intensity. David says, does WWE purposely feed Meltzer fake news? Yep, have been doing for years. They've openly admitted to it. Bradshaw in particular has just come out and said, yeah, we play you constantly. Constantly. Sometimes they do it just to make him apologise. Happened with Seth Rollins. Kieran says, not excited for AJ versus LA Knight. Still disappointed AJ hasn't really had a good Mania match since being in WWE. I would dispute that slightly. The Shane McMahon one was quite fun. Martin says, daft question, is Hall of Fame or SmackDown pre-filmed as quick turnaround if both live? Sorry if majorly stupid... It's not a majorly stupid question. It is a relatively quick turnaround. They have to remove a set of ropes and throw out some red carpet. But they'll do that, or at least start doing that, during the actual final segment of SmackDown. We'll see how it goes. They're likely not going to be focusing on the ramp for a little bit. So it won't be pre-recorded. It will all be live. Joey says, yeah, I'm excited for the match on the social media because social media is buzzing right now. Everyone is talking about WrestleMania. Kevin says, can Night 2 beat Night 1 because Night 1 always beats Night 2? Not with the matches they've lined up, no. Alex says, AJ got asked how he feels about Punk being back in WWE and said Punk looks like he's having the time of his life. Punk is a guy he wants to get in the ring with and tear the house down. Lovely. Thank you for adding the context, mate. Spot on. Spider-Boss says, I'm not excited for AJ Styles versus LA Knight. I don't see anything special in LA Knight. He got over only because of one catchphrase. He got over for a bit more than that, guys. Come on. Hector says, I definitely could see Cody bleeding in both of his matches this weekend. We all know Cody loves to bleed. Martin says, I'm buttering you up, mate. We want you on end of season when dust settles for evaluation. I mean, I'm down for that. Either way, I think it'll be interesting. Megan says, seriously though, I'm interested to see what they do. Neither are known as being into doing the big spot moments and they have similar-ish movesets, so I'm interested to see how they fill their time. The pacing difference is a big key for me. Ah yes, Jack, there's plenty of Bloodline fans here. Blue says, the thing about Dave is it feels like he gets very little actual news these days. A lot of the time, to be fair, he doesn't phrase it as news, but he still gets picked up by everyone and then proven wrong for something he hasn't actually reported. 456 is here, says, hello everyone, this will be a great weekend. Mick, that is indeed midnight in the UK. 7 Eastern is midnight in the UK. Kieran says, isn't that crazy though that AJ's best Mania match is against Shane McMahon? I mean, the Boneyard match wasn't bad. Best they could do with the slot they had. Richard says, hello there, Tom and all. Happy WrestleMania weekend. Jack is fed up with the Cody and Seth hype and is a Bloodline member. You won't have to worry about it after this weekend. Leon says, are you excited for Cross and AOP versus Bobby and the Profits? Yep, if we're going street fight, that means tornado tag. Kevin says WWE need to add another match for Night 2 to be 7 like Night 1. Nope, because Cody versus Roman is going to take forever. Joey says, there's a plan for the Live Revenge tour to start after WrestleMania. Yep, and I reported that about a month ago. Dylan says, hi Tom, just wondering out of curiosity if there is any plans for Roman versus The Rock next year at Mania 41. We do have an update on Mania 41 plans a bit later on, so stick around. Blue says, how long do you expect each night to be? 4 hours. Jack says, going to be honest, AJ Styles doesn't do it for me. And Juan says, Dave Meltzer believes the 3 AEW signings have flopped in the ratings. There's more to life than ratings. They have not flopped. Martin says, that's Bloodline in opener for shower suit, makeup and change. Blue says, Boneyard match is my best friend's favourite Mania match. She loves how weird and ridiculous it is. There was a whole era of carnage. That Money in the Bank match at Titan Towers, forever ruined because it's got Vince in it. But for one shining moment, it was glorious. Glorious. Next piece of news is as regards NXT Asia. Also features news on NXT Europe and a little bit about meetings that have been taking place backstage at WWE. I tweeted about this yesterday. It had a hell of a lot of views and I have a lot to say about what the results were and the reactions and the reception was to that tweet from certain corners as well. So Tom's got things to say. 57 likes. 3 more gets us to 60. Can we do it? I'd appreciate it. Just 3 people hitting that thumbs up. If you've not done it yet, consider it. You never know. You might be the reason that this channel goes boom. You could make it happen just with one little thumb. One little thumb. NXT Asia is a go, but also a work in progress that's now been synced up with the NXT Europe project under William Regal. The continentalization is the phrase that they were using. The continentalization of WWE PLEs has been a massive success and has also ensured that they sell more tickets back home. I do think it's something potentially AEW could learn from by going further afield. They guarantee more tickets than just running the same areas. Now, in addition to this, they are looking at doing the same for NXT, creating a very strong feeder system from all over the world that brings the best talent to them. A large part of this is the NXT Continentalization project, which is under William Regal. NXT Europe has not launched yet, it's gone real quiet, and now we know Why? Because we're talking not just NXT Europe, we're talking NXT Asia. We're talking going further and further afield, potentially in Africa, potentially in Australia, but I don't necessarily see them going that far. So Europe and Asia are expected to launch around the same time. I tweeted about the fact that yesterday, during WWE World, there were meetings expected to take place between TNA executives and the WWE, and Rossy Ogawa, who used to work for Stardom, and he's thinking about launching his own Japanese promotion, and the WWE. I tweeted about that, and it was pretty well received. Apart from a member of Wrestle Purist called Ibu, I don't know him personally, I do apologise if I pronounce his name wrong. He just quote tweeted it and laughed. Then, a couple of hours later, Wrestling Purist was reporting that meetings had taken place between Rossy Ogawa and Triple H, and that we now know that NXT Asia is a go. Yeah, always a fun one. I always have to point these things out. Dave Meltzer also confirmed it, didn't mention my name naturally, after the fact as well. Triple H himself has now confirmed that WWE met with and hired Rossy Ogawa, which is why Rossy Ogawa and Julia were at WWE World. Rossy Ogawa will be in charge of a lot of the booking and talent scouting for NXT Level Up, as he is preparing for his role overseeing NXT Asia, while William Regal would oversee NXT Europe and basically everything else involved. That is the NXT Asia news, and a little bit of a... because sometimes, and I don't like this, sometimes you have to do that. I don't like it, but sometimes you have to do it. Plenty more news coming. We're going to talk Roman's break next and Julia news as well incoming because it is directly connected. Richard says Io versus Bayley match of the weekend. Quite possibly. I'm hyped for it. And Robin Dave says, hey Tom, what did I miss? Little bit so far on AJ Styles, LA Knight, NXT Asia and NXT Europe. Alex says, I don't like LA Knight. I think he's overhyped, but I do think his match with AJ Styles will be good because AJ is one of, if not the best to ever do it, can put out a banger with anyone, in my opinion. Jack Fruit says, what will be the opening match on night one? It will be Becky Lynch versus Rhea Ripley, as first reported here about a month ago. Or in fact, earlier. If you follow me on Twitter, which my Twitter's just up there, by the way, I should say X now. If you follow me there, you'll get quite a bit of this news as well in like easily and more bite size. So you're not sitting through a video for it. I hope you enjoy the videos though, and stick around because you get more news here. I report things here, and then I share them afterwards on Twitter, now X. Twitter's also doing very well for me at the moment. We'll get into that shortly. For anyone who is new here, if anyone has a favourite piece of news that I've reported, shout out. Let people know. Kervin says it's difficult to go back and watch WrestleMania 36. I agree. Razar says I think the streak of night 1 being better than night 2 will continue this year, looking at the cards for each. Edward Sullivan says, hi Tom, how's it going? I'm really excited for WrestleMania. Should be a good weekend. Things are doing very, very well for me right now, Edward. Trying to buy a house. Twitter's exploding for me. People are checking out these shows, and I'm really happy about that. I'm in a very good place in my life, Edward. I hope the same is for yourself and everyone here. Hector says the Firefly Funhouse match was also fantastic and one of the best moments of the Thunderdome era. It's a shame that also didn't main event. Spanable says my favourite WrestleMania match is Mercedes Moné versus Bianca. First time 2 black women main evented WrestleMania and both women put on a banger that made Bianca a top star. Taylor says, do you think Roman versus Cody goes over 60 minutes on night 2? No, but I think it'll be like 45. Mine says, don't forget, grab that catnap in between Spoiler Warning and SmackDown Watch Along. I will if I can. There is an advantage today to me going over the hour. As I mentioned, and as Megan is keeping an eye for us, there is a WWE kickoff show live right now on YouTube. And after that show ends, all those people are going to be wanting to find somewhere else. YouTube will redirect those thousands of people to other creators covering wrestling, covering WWE WrestleMania 40, and covering live. If I get just 1% of that viewership, I ain't got no more worries for a house. So there's an advantage to sticking around. That might have to be sure. Alice says, I don't know if you saw the Wrestling Observer newsletter posted the order of all matches. Becky versus Rhea opens night 1 and Seth and Drew opens night 2. Like you reported, I got a lot of pushback on the opener for night 2 and I'm happy that I stuck with it. Dylan says, Tom, a bit conflicted on who's winning between Cody and Roman. On one hand, I want Cody to win. On the other, I feel like they're going to have Roman win. It's literally only so that he can pass. And I imagine that is a follow-up with someone's record. Alex, the sources in this particular piece of news are literally me. I report these news. And I'm on a pretty good run at the moment, which I'll cover later. Martin says, clearly room for some in-ring segments in each 4 hour, even with Triple H 30 minutes and entrances. A lot of that will actually come down to The Rock. Hector says, Tom, did you see Charlie Dempsey make an appearance at Bloodsport? Do you know if this was always planned or more of a last-minute thing? Always planned. Robin Dave says, Roman's title reign will end on Sunday, 1,316 days, as of course will the Universal Championship. Going bye-bye. Martin says, smash those likes. Thank you, Martin, for that. Jack, TNA's not for sale. That's the main reason nobody's bought it. Eric says, Triple H did what? I'll need some context on that. Blue says, does that mean Julia and Utami are in the WWE? We have news on Julia very shortly. And Martin says, be mega surprised if Roman wins, especially as he is literally disappearing after Mania for a while. David thinks Ibu is a clown. Richard says, congratulations to Rossy, looking forward to the talent he signs. Keyshawn, welcome, says, Tom is like the last of the real journalists of the IWC. Thank you very kindly for that. That means a lot to me. There are some very good journalists in this field, I should say. They're just not the ones you consider the big ones. The ones who actually do the work aren't so popular that they go around insulting everyone. Selvik says, I hate X/Twitter aggregators like WrestlePurists. They think they are reporters, but aren't, as they are tribalistic. I think WrestlePurist was the first one to really just 100% make a living off what other people are doing. Now there's hundreds of them. There are genuinely hundreds of them. And in fact, Twitter has changed to suit them. Twitter has changed in a way that really suits arenas and outlets like WrestlePurist. They make their money off what other people do. They make their money off making sure that you see them first, so you don't have to go to the source, which is not helping the situation. Zane says, what is your favourite wrestler's music in 2024 to sing? It is still very much the Tetsuya Naito theme, because it sounds like I'm playing a game of Sonic. Hear it, you'll know what I mean. Allied, as regards to the WrestleMania stage, I don't hate it, I don't love it. I don't hate it. Bloody hell. Aled says, my favourite thing you said is CM Punk won't be wrestling at Survivor Series and emphasise on the wrestling. I knew what you were doing. Yeah, once you're here for a little bit, you do start to see the tells, and I try and make sure there are tells without ruining it for people who don't want to know. Edward says, Tom, who do you want to win between Roman and Cody? Cody, because then the championship would actually be on the show. Joey says, do you expect a lot of Stardom talent to be a part of NXT Asia? Eventually, yes. Roger says, what is WrestleMania match of all time? I'm guessing that's what is my favourite, because it's WrestleMania 12 main event, Brett versus Shawn. I know not everyone loves it, but it's mine. Wiggly says, you mentioned on Twitter about the end of the Universal title. Do we assume should Cody win, a new belt will be unveiled on Monday? No, because that championship is not the Universal Championship. Thank you, Megan, for the update. 52,000 people watching on YouTube now. Not watching this show, watching that kickoff show, which hopefully, again, 1% of that is 520 people. That would be 6 times the amount that we currently have watching. Like, that's a game changer. Imagine just that ad revenue alone. Like, ooh. I believe it's scheduled to last for an hour, Megan. That's only 20 more minutes. If it lasts for 2 hours, I'm going to bed. Richard says, Tom, do you know what time Stand and Deliver starts at UK/Irish time? I believe it's about 4:30 here in the UK. Steve says, you still like Bullet Club, conquering on their Fug Tactics, LIJ, and Just 5 Guys for me. To be fair, Just 5 Guys has got it going on. Spider-Boss says, I just want Roman to win at night 2. Just tired of the Cody gonna finish his story catchphrase. It is fair to say there isn't really a story. He came back to WWE and said, I want the championship. That's the story. They need to do better with him. Joey says, it seems like they're really high on Charlie Dempsey. Well, I mean, they got rid of Timothy Thatcher for a reason. Eric says, did Triple H hire Rossy Ogawa? Yep. Richard says, even if Roman doesn't drop the title, does the Universal title name go bye-bye? Yep. Yes, it does. Hello, our local establishment, an arena on which I may be making some appearances at some point soon. Hello to yourself as well. Blue says, love Naito's theme, Tom, and I sing along to it every single time as well. Roger says, does anyone else get annoyed by clickbait? It depends on who's doing it. Like, I get told I'm making clickbait, and then I see WrestleTalk saying Cody Rhodes has broken his silence about a terrifying backstage situation. It's not the same thing. Funny, Martin. Alice says, in the draft, I expect Cody to go to SmackDown because obviously he'll have the SmackDown title, and Roman will go to Raw because Netflix. Will says, do you know the long-term effect of WWE and TNA meeting? More on that shortly. The other Mike says, would NXT Asia be only women like Stardom? No. Blue says, still think it's weird it's called the Undisputed title, makes the World Heavyweight Championship look worse. True. Thank you, Roger. I appreciate that update. Things are going well, and I'm happy about that. Blue says, standard delivery should start properly at 5 p.m. UK time, 9 a.m. on the US West Coast. Thank you, Blue. I appreciate you. Martin says, I'm bored of Roman. Same finishes, same stuff. It's boring now. Won't lie. Needs better booking for me if Roman retains. Yeah, pretty much. Spiderboss says, WWE and Cody need to develop more a character than just, I gotta finish his story, because if Cody wins, WWE will need to bring something new for Cody. Yes, they will. Jack, I'm just going to be clear here, because I know there's a bit of back and forth. I'm not having too much of an issue with what you're saying, because it is very clear that you're extolling your opinion, but I have just seen you say the word facts. And at that point, I have to step in. Because before that, it was all fun and games. Was all absolutely fine. What we don't do here is present opinions as facts. You are entitled to your opinion, and I will fight to the death to defend your right to express it. But it's an opinion. Okay? You are welcome here as long as we know the difference. We take great pride in knowing the very clear difference between what is objectively fact and what is an opinion. Brilliant. Thank you very much, Jack. That's exactly the response I was looking for. You are entitled to that opinion. All is good. Sean says, hi, I'm new here. Do you think Cody wins and finishes his story? Yes, I do. I do think we just need to enter the next phase now. Roman Reigns' championship reign just has kept going and going. And as I've reported previously, as I know you said you're new here, Roman Reigns has a break coming. And that actually takes me neatly into our next piece of news. Because Dave Meltzer has now confirmed that a break is planned for Roman Reigns after WrestleMania. This has been previously confirmed here. In fact, I reiterated all of this in detail on Monday's spoiler warning. So it's nice of Dave Meltzer to catch up and credit me. He didn't. But I just wanted to confirm. The reason that Roman Reigns has a break coming up is because he's been working over his allotted dates. And that has meant that he's now very limited in the amount of appearances he can make this year. He's very limited when it comes to that. So if the championship doesn't change hands, well, it needs to change hands to The Rock sooner rather than later. But The Rock ain't doing it. I don't see Cody losing. I don't see a reason they would do it back-to-back main events if he was going to. But we'll see how it goes. I'm excited for it, and Jack, I can see how passionate you are about it. I disagree. Joey says, does WWE want to do more crossovers with TNA or buy out another contract? Again, more on that shortly. JJ says, hey Tom, I don't expect Becky to win tomorrow. Do you know what's next for her after WrestleMania? Book tour. Roger says Charlie Dempsey will get a big push because his dad's William Regal. Nope. Shawn Michaels is making the push, not William Regal, and is getting a push because they believe he's good. Devil says, will Judgment Day retain the tag titles? I don't think so, no. Shifty says, will Sammy be new IC champ? I don't think so, no. Hector says, it's crazy to think how far the WWE has come in the last 10 years, from not taking foreign wrestlers seriously to having two great wrestling minds in Rossy Ogawa and William Regal leading expansions. You are not wrong, Hector. Sean says, do you think Cody will win the belt? Yes. Thank you, Marcel, for clarifying. We do have semi-regular ads on the show. They're supposedly conservative, so they should pop up maybe one every 30, 40 minutes. Shouldn't be too big an interruption on your viewing experience. If you need me to repeat anything, please just let me know. And when you do get an ad, please let me know as well. That tells me whether or not it's a successful system. Because if you're getting an ad every 10 minutes, I need to turn ads off. I'd rather make nothing than do that to you. Thomas says, hi Tom, unfortunately I'm away for Mania so I won't be able to watch it live. I'll be watching both nights on Monday. Hope everyone has a good Mania live stream. Thank you, Thomas. Hope you have an absolutely great time wherever you may be. For those who don't know, I will be doing 4 days of watch parties. Today we start with spoiler warning with SmackDown and with the Hall of Fame. Tomorrow is night 1 of WrestleMania. We kick off when the show kicks off. Night 2 of WrestleMania on Sunday. We kick off when the show kicks off. Spoiler warning. And Monday Night Raw. So it's 4 a.m. finishes every day for the next 4 days. Be sure to tune in. Otherwise, why the hell am I doing this? Steve says, what about when LA Knight says that's not an opinion, that's just a fact of life? He is a wrestler living in kayfabe. Martin says, for me, there's no difference in Cody saying this is my story to Rock turning up and saying, I want the title, please. No difference in my own opinion. That's wrestling. WWE doesn't do rankings. Okay, so Jack's thinking Damian Priest will cash in on Roman. Everyone seems too scared of Roman when they have a briefcase. Spider Boss says, Roman said this is forever. I think only him and Heyman know when this title reign ends. The Rock and Triple H both are fully aware. As is Cody. Alex says, the boys put out a statement disputing what Tony Khan said about their releases. I'd imagine you've seen my tweet about it, because I did share that one. For those who don't already know, I do have more news on that coming. Zane, I would not wear that t-shirt, but I would definitely still wear the Bullet Club one. Also my Alexa Bliss one, which I was wearing earlier. Edward says, hey Tom, did you see Bayley's IG video promoting her match in a Rage Room? I hope they show it on TV. Hopefully so. Sean says, hi Tom. Welcome, Sean. Jack says, I mean being serious. Okay, this is how I see it. Roman has until September, by which point he surpasses Hulk Hogan and Bob Backlund, and then only second to Bruno. Why stop now? Let him get the record. Well, I'm open to that question, and I've answered it before, and I'm happy to jump in again. So, Jack, what I see this as is essentially, why stop there? Then why stop there? Then why stop there? When it's time, it's time. Eddie says, we'll see more releases from AEW. More on that later. Spider-Boss says, I think Becky will be the first one to kick out from the Riptide. Rhea will need 3 Riptides to be Becky. Robin Dave says, any news on Rock versus Roman? A little bit, yeah. Jack says, if Roman was declared the winner, why do you think WWE will have made that decision? What we don't do here is make assumptions based on guesses. Sean says, Becky said at a Q&A at WWE World she has a bit of a fever. Well, she may need to take some time off after WrestleMania. Let's not forget Rhea Ripley has a hand injury. Megan says, something which might help with migration post WWE show Up, Up, Down, Down has finished their broadcast. Oh, Megan, you should see immediately more views on the kickoff show because of that. Oh, this is very interesting stuff. I'm a nerd. Spider-Boss says, what is the one WrestleMania outcome that pisses you off the most? Probably Roman winning last year. Because unfortunately, about a minute before it happened, I saw Paul Heyman walk onto the entranceway and immediately knew exactly what the end result was going to be. If you watch back the watch party, you can tell. Alex says, I'd love to know why Tony Khan brought back the rankings but gave Mercedes money the number 1 contendership when she hasn't even wrestled a match yet. Tony ruining the rankings once again. The other Mike says, when do you think Gunter will enter the heavyweight title scene? Next year. Shifty said, I've asked the reporter, was Nia versus Jade the plan? They said no, but you said yes. Shifty, who was the reporter? Also, again, to my knowledge, I believe Nia Jax versus Jade Cargill was a plan for WrestleMania. But around Royal Rumble time just beforehand, they decided she wasn't quite ready. Let's not forget, Shifty, I was the one who reported that Jade Cargill would be debuting at the Royal Rumble, and I reported that in November. Thomas says, was wondering what your opinion is on Triple H and Pat shooting on AEW. More on that shortly. I do have all this news, I promise you guys. There's a lot going on in the chat. I'm really excited for it. Please keep it going. Jordan says, great to see your beat. I know you've had some bad times, so it's fantastic to see you thriving. Keep up the good work, mate. WrestleMania weekend, LFG. Thank you, Jordan. I appreciate that from you. Devil says, who takes a pinfall in the tag match between Roman, Rock and Cody? Seth? I'd assume Seth. I'd assume Cody. I think The Rock pins Cody. And that's the story that launches Rock versus Roman. Slovic said, since Carmella is back on WWE World, is it possible her return is coming soon? Yeah. Andrew says, hello Tom, are we going to see big returns or surprise debuts? One day, yes. Zane says, do you think WWE will be interested in re-signing Steve Macklin, aka Steve Cutler? His TNA contract is up in May 2024. I do not. But that's not a report, that's just an opinion. Blue says, Roman's time needs to end because they found the guy to do it in Cody. Alex, once again, you're clearly not listening of audio. You've said show the source. He's here. Right here. On TV. Like, wherever you're watching this. If you're watching it on your phone, he's on your phone, mate. Right here. Spider-Boss says Heyman recently said the end of the Bloodline storyline has been rewritten too many times since it began in 2020 because of all the people that have been involved. Yep, they kept going. Thank you, Moxie, for clarifying Charlotte did kick him out of the Riptide last year. Steve says Tony Khan said the boys wouldn't show up for work, but the boys say that Tony Khan isn't telling the whole truth. What's going on behind closed doors? Very sus activity. Do you see what I mean, Megan? Exactly an example there. Shot up to 65,000 viewers. 1%. Sean says, I'm wondering if this Roxanne heel turn was an audible call by NXT since Cora was injured. Nope. Doug says, do stories and crowning moments always have to happen at WrestleMania? WrestleMania is big, sure, but all the PLEs should be a big deal. I agree with that. I do think spreading them out is a good way to do it. But I think Cody's the only one who really finishes the story here. Bayley will still have to work with damage control. Rhea Ripley will not be losing to Becky Lynch. There's more to go with Seth and Drew, but you know what I mean. Blue says, Tom, do you think Gunter could main event Bash in Berlin title or not? Yeah. Hector says, Hulk Hogan beating Yokozuna is usually my least favourite Mania match. Outcome because Hulk Hogan. Thomas says, any potential debuts or returns at Mania? Yeah. Ronnie says, it may be just me, but for it to be WrestleMania week, it seems like things have been kind of quiet. I do disagree with you there, Ronnie. I think we've had non-stop WrestleMania all over things at the moment. I'm alright with it. Martin says, for me, Roman losing leads to Rock versus Roman, like you say. I'd love Rock to screw Roman night 2, to be honest, but probably leave it to Raw to do it. Rob says, could you see Roman turning on The Rock? Nope. Wiggly says, do you expect Heyman's speech to be more in character and storyline or very personal and emotional? The latter. Dominic says, hi Tom, you're having a watch party tonight? Yes, I am. Keem says, do you think we get a final inning reference? Another one? Absolutely I do. And Spider-Boss says, the outcome of WrestleMania 34 pissed me off. I really thought Roman was winning and Brock won after 5 F5s. Yeah, everyone thought Roman was winning because they'd been told Roman was winning. And then Brock won because Vince McMahon said, you know what, we're not going to do this. We're just not. So they didn't. And so we ended up with more Brock Lesnar, which, as we all know, everyone was very happy about backstage. They genuinely were. Brock was having really good matches at that point in time. Julia! We are finally on to our fourth piece of news out of about 12. Loving the enthusiasm in the chat today. Absolutely loving it. Next up, we're talking about Julia. We have 102 people here, 73 likes. 2 more gets us to 75. Can you give me those 2? Because the more engagement we get, the more people here, the higher the chat rate is, the more likely we are to get some of that feed dripping out of the WWE kickoff show. And there's no real competition. I'm okay. Julia is expected to join the WWE and start in NXT. Creative pitches have now been put primarily to people representing her, not necessarily to Julia herself, though there has been a meeting scheduled. I don't know if that meeting has or will take place. Julia going straight for gold is the expected path, as it should be. There is, and I've been told this very clearly, there's going to be no fucking around. Which is exciting. Very exciting. Wiggly says, Tom, prediction for Sunday's big match. Personally, I am really, really excited for it. I think it's going to be Bayley. Megan says, Punk's on the kickoff show in a suit for some reason. CM Punk. He's going to be on all the kickoff shows. Like, that's going to be who he is for a while. He's going to be the kickoff show guy. He's going to be at the kickoff shows for WrestleMania too. Joey says, do you think we'll see a tribute to Bray tonight when Mike Rotunda and Wyndham get inducted? Yes, I do. And Ronnie says, I'm basing it on those I normally follow on YouTube. Of course, when CM Punk did his interview, he got everyone stirring. It really did. But I think a lot of the people you follow might be involved in that AEW versus WWE camp. It really got a lot of people going there. Martin says, WWE biography gave me an idea who's winning, pardon me, Sunday. Why push Roman story if it wasn't ending? Just surmising, though. Martin says, hang fire idea, Tom. Watch WWE kickoff in 1 minute. I don't know what you're saying there, Martin. I'm confused. Andrew says, stand and deliver, she appears, I predict. I would agree. The other Mike says, Rock could be the heel in feud with Roman. Yeah. Razar says, I don't follow Japanese wrestling a lot, but Julia has been something I keep up with. Her coming to WWE is really exciting. And Shifty says, Cody versus Roman slated 55 minutes. Is that true? Need a source, Shifty. Need a source. Richard says, delighted for the report about Julia. If anyone hasn't watched her, do. She's amazing. Spider-Bell says it took a while for Roman to get his moment in WWE. I don't want to see him lose. Before becoming the tribal chief, Roman got cashed in on twice and plans changed the last minute when Roman was going to have his moment. Yeah, a lot of things changed. A lot of things changed. Oh, I see, Martin. Well, I very much appreciate you for that. Very nice thing to do. Might get you banned from it. Like, it is, like, spamming. Gotta be aware of that stuff, mate. Like, I appreciate you, but I wouldn't want you taking a risk for me. Spider-Bell says, I think The Rock will pin Seth, and that could be the start of Seth's heel turn. Why is there going to be a Seth heel turn? Taking a long time to get to a point where he's not a heel for once. Wiggly says, I want to say about Roman, given his health battles, what he has achieved has been remarkable. I agree with that. I agree. And Moxie says, Punk the kickoff man. Robin Dave says, how would you book the ending of night 2? I would have Cody win, and then I'd have Roman walk out, and then I'd have The Rock meet Roman as he walks past and just look at him like, shame. That's all I'd do. So Vic says, Julia to NXT is perfect. Jack's disappointed they didn't induct Bray. Family didn't want it. Makes sense. Eddie says, Julia is number 2 from PWI, by the way. Blue says, Julia coming to WWE finally feels real because you said so, Tom. I trust you because when you didn't know, you told us you didn't know. You're the best. And for a long time. Like, this is one of those examples of someone I knew nothing about. Not a thing. We were asking constant questions about Julia in this chat, and I couldn't answer any of them. Genuinely had nothing that I could share. Nothing. So I'm glad to finally have something. Like, yay. Spider-Bot says, Julia going to WWE will give WWE a lot to do, especially knowing WWE hasn't booked well. Japanese girls, women, mate, women. They're not girls. They're not children. They're women. Wiggly says, as I said, all the faces will help Cody beat Roman and Bloodline. Again, that's your opinion. I don't see it. Joey says, is Julia in for a massive push when she gets to NXT? Rewind like 5 minutes, mate. I think I made that clear. Rob says, any news on Roman turning babyface? No. Only what I've already said. Sovic said, are anyone from Stardom that WWE is interested in? Quite a lot. Hello, Eric. How are you, mate? Steve says, Bray is a Netflix special that's arguably better than a Hall of Fame induction. Clever, Martin. Shifty, I've said what I said. She's expected to go to WWE. I expect her to start in NXT. Juan says, any update on Britt Blair or Jamie Hayter? Nope, do not have that information, unfortunately. I watched Edge versus Mick Foley way after the time, so I can't really comment on it. Blue says, I really do like the idea of Roman letting the family down. That's the plan. Steve says, expected temps in the mid to low 40s come this weekend. Is this the coldest WrestleMania in history? No idea. I don't live there. Eddie says, Tom, NXT Japan partnership with Rossy and AJPW. More on NXT Asia earlier on the show, about 20 minutes in. By all means, rewind and check that out. Roger says, who do you think will be the worst WrestleMania 40 match? I'm still not in love with AJ versus LA. I'm just not. Spider-Boss says, when Roman faces The Rock, I think The Rock will be the babyface. I do not. And Wiggly says, why isn't Asuka getting a winning moment at WrestleMania, Tom? Why? Because of booking. I don't know what else to tell you, mate. It's always the same thing. Booking. Next piece of news is as regards the Tag Team Championship match. As has been mentioned by Michael Cole, but hasn't actually been formally reported anywhere, the WWE are planning to have both sets of Tag Team Championships on the line. But they've left open a gap. They've left open a method by which they can very easily say, we're not actually splitting them. They've left open a route to change their minds. The match is intended to continue after the first set of championships are won. There will be a reset, and then they will simply keep going. Wrestlers who were essentially eliminated from the first phase may have time to come back in the second phase, but it is still possible that a team like DIY, for example, could leave with both sets of championships. Stranger things have happened. There are 6 teams in play. Dave Meltzer has reported that one of them will be taken out. The team that are apparently being taken out disagree with Dave Meltzer. So we'll see what happens there. He didn't give a reason that I'm aware of. He in fact openly said, I don't have a reason for this, so credit to him for that. But as regards the WWE, I would find it hilarious if in the end we still had one team with both sets of championships. But that's just me. Going to go straight into my next piece of news and then come back to the chat, which is The Rock was considerably later than expected to WWE World. He was nearly 2 hours late, and people were stood there waiting. When he did appear, people were not best pleased, and he got a little bit of shit for it. There is a number of reasons that he was late to WWE World. First and foremost, almost everyone in WWE, once you reach a certain level, they are booked entirely. Triple H, for example, every single moment of his time for the next week is booked solid. Absolutely booked solid. WWE World is obviously a considerable success. Media coverage is everything they wanted it to be. They are getting sponsorship opportunities. They're getting everything they could possibly get and making a ton of money from it. But it also means that people with responsibilities still have to respect those responsibilities. The Rock is not just a wrestler, he's also a member of the board. And let's just say that the board and certain executives were needed to make some decisions. Let's say, for example, Rossy Ogawa's signing, the hiring of him by Triple H, was not solely a Triple H decision. Nick Khan and The Rock were also involved. So a little moment like that where they were trying to squeeze something in did result in The Rock being late to WWE World. Plenty of news still to come. We're going to talk about AJ Styles and his impending retirement. We're going to talk Triple H and Pat McAfee taking a victory lap over AEW. We're going to talk Roxanne Perez. We're going to talk Tony Khan making himself very unpopular with his own wrestlers. We're going to talk about The Rock's pivot, the final boss character, a couple of the early creative pitches for WrestleMania 41, and a little bit about the draft that is incoming after WrestleMania, as first reported right here on the Tom Colohue channel. We have 78 likes, 88 people, 2 more likes will get us to 80. And at that point, we're very close to having more likes than people, which is amazing. Absolutely amazing. So please do consider hitting like if you haven't already. Spider-Boss says there was a little bit of tension in the Judgment Day this week on Raw after Dominic brought Legado del Fantasma to Raw. Yeah, they're all acting alone. All acting alone. Where are we? Eric, no, I have not. That's still incoming. Martin said, letting the family down idea is perfect with the Roman biography, all about how that was the pinnacle. Clever WWE. Blue says, finally splitting up the tag titles. Please, please, please. Quick question for you guys. Do you want WWE to split up the tag team championships, or are you happy with the championships being combined? 85 people here. Let me know what you think. I'd love to know your opinion. Do you want the championships split, or do you want the championships together? Razar says night 1 has 7 matches, night 2 has 6. Was there a match scrapped from night 2 or something? No, they just think Roman will take forever. Eddie says, I think this year Clash at the Castle is a downgrade from 2022 because it's not inside a stadium. They got what they were given money for. They were trying to get Wembley, didn't quite pan out. Kevin says, can we see Drew McIntyre's theme song returning for WrestleMania 40? Maybe. Robin Dave says, win or lose, Bayley has earned everything. And Triple H is very eager to make sure she gets the push that he originally wanted for her. There's a reason Damage Control was the beginning of the Triple H era. Alex says, Tom, you said Rhea Ripley will face Bianca Belair at WrestleMania next year. So do you think Bianca gets drafted there or wins the Rumble? More on that shortly. Marcel says, I have a funny idea. R-Truth takes down a Raw belt and a SmackDown belt and thinks he and me are the champions, only to find out that he made a mistake. Joey says, I thought people were saying The Rock was at the GCW event during WWE World. Again, he has commitments to the WWE, so he's involved in a lot of things at once. Shifty says, any discussion on R-Truth and Damien tagging? No. Servic wants to split the tag titles. Eric wants a split. Steve wants a split. Eddie wants a split. Aled does not care. Marcel wants a split. Juan wants a split. Richard wants a split. Hector wants a split. I'm starting to feel like people really want that split. Spider-Boss says, I want WWE to split the tag team titles. Those titles weren't relevant once the Usos dropped the titles last year. We'll see you in a bit, Wiggly. Thank you for joining us. Wiggly wants to split the tag titles as well. Edward Brooks says, happy with them combined, just make one set of gold belts too. There's been non-stop rumours that they're going to, and then they just didn't. Barry says, I prefer tag team title split. I also want a women's tag title on NXT. I do think merging the NXT and the main roster women's championships was a bad call. Razar says, combined when they had 2 tag titles, they were both booked pretty bad. Jordan says, split, just give teams on both brands more opportunity. Leon says, split. Devil says, A-Town down under for the win. Eddie says, I think Bianca will become the next Undertaker streak scenario at Mania. And Roger says, FBI returned to TNA. I was so happy. The The FBI raided TNA. Did not expect that in my newsfeed. Moxie says, I don't mind the championships being split. I just don't want a tag team carrying 2 belts per person. If so, just merge it and create 1 set of belts. Blue says, if they split the titles, we might finally get those non-branded tag titles. Again, there are plenty of outlets who've embarrassed themselves reporting repeatedly that they're going to split them, and then it simply does not happen. AJ Styles has confirmed my reporting about this being his last WWE contract. He is looking towards retirement at this point in time. The WWE treated him well. He's very happy with his tenure there, but he has been picking up a lot of injuries lately. And as Triple H might put it, he's not all in for the grind anymore. That's going to cause some issues. So AJ Styles likely to wrap up with this WWE contract and move on from there. There is a possibility that he might pop up for a brief time at an AEW, but to my knowledge, AJ Styles isn't that interested. Would be much more interested in wrapping things up, walking away, and getting on with a very different life. AJ Styles looking to retire at the end of this WWE contract. Now, speaking of the he's not all in for the grind comment, Triple H and in fact Pat McAfee seem to be taking a bit of a victory lap over AEW at the moment. Pat McAfee is definitely the worst one for this. He's essentially trying to drag comments out of almost everyone, and he's starting to wind people up. Wrestlers backstage aren't too happy with this approach, primarily because they don't want to be dragged into it. They have friends, in some cases they have partners over in AEW, and at the very least they have people that they respect. Adam Copeland didn't just go there to I was going to say bake bread, why would I say that? He didn't go there to fuck spiders, let's be fair. He went over there to try and make something big happen. The WWE didn't offer him a contract that he was happy with. They didn't offer him a schedule that he was happy with, so he moved away to AEW, which is good because an alternative is a good thing. It means more people can rise up. I don't think WWE would have Jade Cargill if not for AEW. So this lap of honour doesn't quite sit too well with me. What I will say, though, is that Rhea Ripley is not the person to be making comments to. Firstly, she has immediate connections to AEW, and also, Pat, she can beat you up. Just throwing that out there, Pat. Rhea Ripley can beat you up. So maybe, just maybe, try and be careful with what you say, because wrestlers are getting wound up, wrestlers are getting pissed off with WWE themselves pushing this AEW is done narrative. Yes, there's news on AEW coming as well. I'll just catch up with the chat. There's a bit on Roxanne Perez, and then we will be talking Tony Khan and the fact that he has pissed off most of his locker room now. Blue says I've already read that one. Aled says, do you know anything of if Styles' new music he said he'd have at Mania will be Evil Ways or something completely new? If he said new, I'd imagine it'll be new. Leon says the X Division definitely took at least 5 years of AJ's career. I think that's fair. I do think that's fair. The other Mike says just get us new belts. Jack says split the title Awesome Truth and Wall of Theory. Wouldn't hate it. A lot of people are really behind the Awesome Truth at the moment. Justin says, I don't know, Pat's jacked. Would you like to see that? Rhea Ripley versus Pat McAfee. I kind of like it. Steve says, is Pat wrong? Come on. Yes. Yes, he is. Because he's not saying, oh, WWE won. He's taking the piss out of the people who work there. And a lot of people in WWE have direct connections, or in fact, did work there. He's gonna piss people off. I don't know why I said it, Moxie. I said it. It is what it is. I don't know what else to say on that one. Megan says, kickoff show just got done. Final audience of 75.5k. A huge number. Huge number. I'm definitely not the target audience. Definitely not. I think we did gain about 20 people of that 75.5. If you've come over from that show, hi guys. Cheers. Subscribe. We do wrestling news. Spiderboss said DIY win the Raw Tag Team titles and Waller and Fury win the SmackDown Tag Team titles. That is my pick. Barry says, I don't think WWE should even acknowledge AEW exists. That was the strategy under Vince McMahon. I'm kind of glad they at least acknowledge it now. Spider-Boss says Triple H's comments about AEW could backfire to him. Some of the talents in WWE have friends in AEW, which is what I'm saying. Kervin says, kickoff show ends, no Bailey and Io Sky, disrespect. It's not the first kickoff show they've had to miss as well. Roger says, do you prefer AJ Styles in WCW or WWE or TNA? I like him in WWE because I just think he's had really fun matches. Rosal says, Pat being weird about the AEW digs lately. What does he have against them? Punching up is fine, but punching down is kind of whack. I agree with that. As a general rule, don't punch down. I know that as someone who's been punched down a number of times. Blue says, beyond those having friends and family in AEW, the wrestlers need a strong AEW as a contract bargaining chip. True, and a lot of people are benefiting from that. Drew McIntyre, for example. I'm not sure, Joey. I'd have to check with that one. Steve says, isn't Pat taking the piss why he reached the heights he has? Very true. Very fair comment. Eric says, are you streaming tonight for SmackDown before Mania? Yes, I am. We will be doing 4 days of watch parties. This spoiler warning, SmackDown, Hall of Fame, WrestleMania Night 1, WrestleMania Night 2, Friday spoiler warning, Raw after Mania watch party. 7 shows. 7 shows. Busy time. Busy time. Blue says, Pat has no worries about pissing anyone off. I know, that's very much his thing. And the other Mike says, it wasn't that serious. There's nothing wrong with competition. Isn't this sports? There's nothing wrong with competition, but let's not poke fun at people when their partners are wrestling in AEW. You're gonna piss people off. And when you're in that wrestling environment, people are gonna fight back. Blue says, Pat has friends in AEW himself. I think he takes a tribalism from his football career and sees it as a bit of fun. Not everyone does. That's what I'm saying. Thank you, Marcel. Very nice to hear. Roger says, are you a fan of Pete Dunne? Yeah, nice guy. Me too, Eric. Me too. We'll see if it happens, but me too. Also, hi, Dan. Bit more news to come. Let's talk Roxanne Perez. Roxanne Perez has indeed been impressing people backstage. I know that this report originally came from Fightful last week and it caused a buzz because people weren't giving them credit. I cannot imagine how that could feel. Cannot imagine it. Especially when you consider that I've been reporting about Roxanne Perez being very popular backstage in NXT for weeks now. I cannot imagine how much it must be annoying trying to build your career and watching people refuse to give you credit for the things that you report accurately before anyone else does. God, that must sting. Anyway, Tony Khan has made himself even more unpopular backstage in AEW because of how he has handled the wrestler releases. A lot of people were willing to give him the benefit of the doubt over the whole CM Punk situation, and a lot of people are still very angry at CM Punk in AEW. So Tony Khan was benefiting from that. Tony Khan also launched an actual creative team in AEW recently at the behest of Mercedes Money. Again, backstage were very happy with this. They saw signs of very clear progress. And I personally was also very happy to see it. This has certainly set things backwards. Tony Khan directly told people that he was firing, that it was because of budget cuts, as first reported by Tom Colohue on my Twitter. Follow if you haven't already. Then he briefed members of the wrestling media that he was instead creating new opportunities for people and not wanting to keep them tied down, which AEW contracts have never done. Worse, wrestling media actually ran with that. They actually decided to report that which he's clearly agendaed. Tony Khan has annoyed and let down a lot of people, and more are likely to follow. As again you will have seen on Twitter, but I want to cover it now. The boys, Dalton Castle's boys, have responded to an accusation from Tony Khan that they know showed work. They brought receipts. And Tony Khan is not exactly popular enough backstage to ride this out. This could be a serious problem that he actually might not recover from. To the point that the best thing for AEW might be if Tony Khan takes a step back. That is the opinion of many backstage in AEW. Spider-Boss says, I think Rhea didn't want to say if Dominic wasn't with her, Dominic would be wrestling in that other place for 600 people. Without Rhea, Dominic would still be along with Rey Mysterio. She didn't want to say that. She wanted to take the discussion away from that. Because, let's not forget the fact, her partner wrestles for AEW. Her partner did wrestle for AEW, as we know, more on that shortly and everything, but House of Black, very popular in WWE right now. Spider-Boss says the boys clapped back at Tony Khan's comment about the release of the boys. Yes, in fact, they did. JJ says it's fine if Bayley and Io weren't on the kickoff show. I don't think Bianca and everybody was either. Alex says Cody did a cartwheel. Stardust return confirmed. Guys, Stardust is about to have his second and third WrestleMania main event. Stardust. Sean says CM Punk is not wearing his brace. That's true. He's going to be on camera a lot and he doesn't feel he needs it right now. He still can't do much with it. Blue says, does your family watch the PLEs with you? Nope, because I watch the PLEs live here. Where are they going to sit? They watch afterwards with me, and one of them's more invested than the others, and they only watch the women's matches. Because they're all women. Blue says, Roxanne is a goat in the making. Love her so much. Dan, couldn't tell you. That's spoiling the result. Roger says, are you a fan of Pete Dunne in a tag team in 2024? No. Eric says, Roxanne is next up. I'm telling you. Blue says, if Tony didn't want to keep them tied down, he could have paid out their contracts and let them go. Absolutely, he could. He chose not to do that. Justin laughs at the idea of the boys no showing. Joey says, I'm surprised Miro wasn't released since he's been wanting to get out for a while. I genuinely think at this point, he's only been held onto out of spite. Just my opinion. Kevin says Tony Khan needs to focus more on his products. That's what he's doing. I did mention a couple of weeks ago that there was a clear out coming to AEW. I did mention this ahead of time, as regulars here will be aware of. I did mention it. Joey says, did you see the ratings for AEW this week dip below 800k with Mercedes and Will Ospreay on the show? Is this a troubling sign? Yeah. The ratings have not been affected by anyone they brought in. The show quality, I feel, has improved. That's not immediately going to change anything, though. Spider-Boss says, I liked Adam Copeland's promo on Dynamite. This WWE versus AEW only exists in the mind of the fans and management from both companies. Spider-Boss says Becky Lynch was asked about Mercedes Money being the highest paid woman in wrestling today, and Becky said good for her. Yeah. Sovik says Tony Khan needs to have a manager for his tweets. Ooh. Yes, Vegeta, welcome to the show, and thank you very much for reminding me. We currently have 99 people watching and 89 likes. One more gets us to 90. One more gets us to 90. Do you know how long it's been since I've had 90 likes? We are rebuilding, spoiler warning right now. We hit a peak, we dropped off a little bit. It was a great peak. I was very excited by that peak. I'm also very excited by these shows. I still have a great time, but it's been a long time since I've had 90 likes. I'm telling you that. I have a cold. That is the first cough I've done. Cold's wearing off. Blue says Tony being the cool boss might actually be dead. Feels like it's all been downhill since Brawlout, the event that helped me find you, Tom. Very true, Blue. Very true. I covered that one at quite some length. Alex says I think Roxanne has a bright future. Hector says I think Tony Khan is under the impression that he can just buy any free agent due to his financial status, but is getting to the point where wrestlers may pass up the money due to his actions. Yes, Aled, I did say that. HCast says any news on Bo Dallas? There is plenty of news on Bo Dallas in my Wednesday video. The Wednesday video is PLE Wednesdays. There is like non-stop news in that you may find quite fun. JJ says hopefully Becky gets a big contract and congratulations to her for being a New York Times best-selling author. Told you the announcement was coming. Spider-Boss says Fightful reported that there were provisional plans to pair Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade as a heel duo before Cora got injured. Yeah, so the heel turn was already going to happen. Roger says, who's your favourite YouTuber to watch? I'm a sucker for Smosh. I'm a sucker for the Outside Extra and their D&D sessions. Oh. Robin Dave says, Tony Khan needs to change or more problems will happen. And Joey says, do you think Will Ospreay and Okada are big in the American market since they spent most of their careers in New Japan? Not as big as Mercedes Money, but they're not small names. Eddie says, I think Malachi, Miro and Matthews are the next to be released. I think they will see out their contracts and then make a move. Yes, HCar, there will be a watch party tonight for Hall of Fame. You guys have really taken up that mantle because we only needed one more. We got 9 more. We now have 98 likes and the viewership has just gone poof because of it. One more gets us to 100. Aled says, SRS said Buddy Matthews still has a long time left on his AEW contract. Let's talk about that one later. I've said what I've said. I stand by it. I'm not reporting it. You'll note that I'm not reporting it. But let's just say people are unhappy. Spider-Boss says, I really thought Liv was going to be at WrestleMania 40. Liv's Revenge Tour will have to keep waiting. I did mention in January that the Liv Revenge Tour would start after WrestleMania. And that is very much the plan. Becky Lynch essentially stepped in at that point and said, I know that it's going to be after, but can she still be on the show? And got her on the show. Same with Nia Jax. Becky Lynch doing the favours in new and interesting ways. The Rock has confirmed my report about a character pivot, essentially stating that a change needed to be made. He was going to come in as a babyface, but then it all got changed. Then in a different interview, he essentially took credit for the character pivot. Thankfully, Triple H and Cody Rhodes both also confirmed my reporting that it wasn't The Rock's decision and a pivot did have to be made. So it's very clear that The Rock entered hashtag kayfabe mode. Nobody bought it, champ. Nobody bought it. He also compared the final boss routine to Darth Vader. Now, I know Darth Vader. You see this red panda? You see Darth Vader? I like red pandas. It's a thing. I know the Darth Vader character, and I just want to point out, notably a sub-boss en route to the actual final boss of Emperor Palpatine, but you can't win them all. I don't think The Rock has watched Star Wars, guys. If I was there for WWE World, I'd have just been shouting that. You ain't watched Star Wars! Wow, that was British. Spider-Boss says AEW hiring back Anthony Henry reminds me when WWE fired Samoa Joe, then hired him back after the backlash they got. Unrelated. It wasn't about backlash. Vince McMahon fired him. Triple H brought him back to NXT under a different, much lower contract. Then they ended up firing him again. Joey says you weren't wrong when you said this was a huge news stream. I think this is the longest spoiler warning you've done. Nearly. There's a couple that got to an hour and a half, and there was one way back in the days when I only streamed on Twitch. There was one that reached 2 hours. Okay? There was one that reached 2 hours. It was a big one. I think a large part of it was I kept getting distracted because people kept donating. More than $100 came into the show that night, and I used it to pay rent. It was a good time. Nowadays, I'm buying a house. So, yeah. As a reminder to anyone who isn't a regular here or has joined us a little late, I'm buying a house, guys. I put in an offer and the offer has been accepted. So any money that comes from ad revenue, channel memberships or donations now goes straight into the fund and the budget to buy that house. So please be aware of that. If that's not something you want to support, you are absolutely welcome to sit it out. That's absolutely fine. But please be aware all revenue is going in that direction, because I want to be able to look after my family. And my family have never owned anything, ever. I do not come from a lot of money. I come from very little, if any, actual money. I come from spending a lot of time living on bread. I am still malnourished as hell because of the bad practices and the bad habits I got into then. I'm going to make sure that my children do not have the same experiences. I wish I could have done it sooner, but I can make sure that they don't have the same experiences. So I'm going to. If you are open to watching an ad, hitting donate, hitting a thumbs up, or just chatting along, you're helping me achieve a dream and protect my family. So, thank you. Thank you. Spider-Boss says, do you think after WrestleMania Becky will be putting over the Raw Women's Division? Not sure. She might be putting over the SmackDown Women's Division. Eddie says, why is Jay White not waiting a little longer to do what he's doing right now? Poor guy. I don't understand what you're asking for there, Eddie. H-Car says, can't wait for the Andre the Giant Battle Royal to see who returns in it. Slovak says, any interest in Julia Hart and Brody King by WWE? To my knowledge, WWE interested in House of Black and going like that. Cheers. Leon says, keep this going for another 3 hours and I won't complain. I will. Tom needs a nap. Jack says, AEW last 6 out of 7 shows have been under 800,000. Then he says, have you got your snakes ready? Interesting. Snacks. Gotcha. Okay, snacks. That makes more sense. And yes, I do. I have Starburst and I have Haribo, which I've already started eating. Alex says, why do people think Damian Priest wants to cash in on Seth? Rhea said in the Pat McAfee show. He does. Spider-Boss says, it caught my attention what Ronda Rousey said about Drew Gulak this week. I didn't see it coming. Another thing on that, actually, I've been talking about Twitter. So the intention with Twitter is I have signed up to the Twitter subscription service. I have paid money, but because I know my audience and I know what I can do, Elon Musk by the end of this year will be paying me. That's a fact. In order to get paid on Twitter, you need 5 million views on your tweets over a 3-month period, which essentially means an average of 1.6 million per month. Now, the intention is that I'll be doing that by August, September. A couple of days ago, I had a tweet hit 600,000 views. I'm averaging at the moment 50,000 per day. If I get to 55,000 per day, Twitter starts paying me, which is another revenue stream coming into this source, which means more YouTube content. So I want to thank everyone who's been supporting on the Twitter side as well. Every like, every retweet, every quote tweet. I've seen people, Brad, I want to shout you out here, literally directing people to it, and then I've seen those people follow. You are making a huge difference. Thank you once again for that. And it will mean that I live a little more comfortably and I can afford more than bread. So thank you. Anyway, Joey says Jay White's booking has been really disappointing, in my opinion. Should be at the top of the card instead of running around with the Ring of Honor titles. I don't think time would have changed that. Blue says time to go on a light streak. Thank you, Blue. Appreciate you. Vijit says Jay White messed up. It's his fault. He made a choice, and honestly, it's probably still the best choice for him personally. Spider-Boss says, do you think this feud between Bullet Club Gold versus the Acclaim could lead to a title unification of the trio's titles? I don't watch enough AEW to respond to that. Also says Miro's AEW run went downhill after Miro lost the TNT title. After that, Miro hasn't done much. Joey says the traffic on Twitter has been great. It's really starting to compete with the YouTube channel. It is, and it's driving traffic to the YouTube channel. We have hundreds, nearly thousands of views on this channel coming from Twitter. As we grow on the Twitter side, as we get closer to that level of monetization, we also see more traffic being driven over. Because as the engagement rate increases, we stop getting tanked for posting links. And our links are actually doing really well. The announcement tweets are doing really well. Everything is going really well. I'm very suspicious. Zane says, I think Dean Ambrose will return. Nope. Agecast says, any news on Braun Strowman? Not at this point in time, but he is in town for WrestleMania. One said, is Mercedes money upset over the releases? I don't know on that one. I can't really respond. There will always be a few things which I'm just not sure about. Alex says, I'm not going to lie to you, the reaction from fans in the AEW arenas haven't been good for Mercedes money. Spider-Boss says, I don't get why fans on social media hate so much to Ronda Rousey. Alyssa says, disappointed with the WrestleMania stage. What stage downgrade last year? Hollywood-themed downgrade, do agree. Eddie says, when Malachi Black returns to WWE, Tom, did you see WWE see him as the next Undertaker since Bray Unfortunate passed away? No, they don't see a next Undertaker. They see the Undertaker and they see Bray Wyatt and they see Aleister Black. There's no next. We're at the point now where I talk about WrestleMania 41, and there are two matches which the WWE creative team is currently working on the storylines for WrestleMania 41. This is still very early in the stage of creative pitches. Nothing is locked in. We are talking a year ahead, okay? Don't get overexcited. The two matches include Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair and The Rock versus Roman Reigns. The ending of WrestleMania 40 will be the beginning of The Rock versus Roman Reigns story. And lastly, Triple H has confirmed something I've been reporting here for months now. A draft is incoming right after WrestleMania 40. Couple of weeks, a month. He's not making it clear, but shortly after WrestleMania, there'll be a draft, as I've been reporting. I just want to say, it's been a really good week for my reporting, hasn't it? A really good week. The reports on negotiations with Rossy Ogawa. The reports on the Asuka injury that was confirmed by PWInsider. The report on the draft. There's plenty more in here. Report on Julia. The report on the character pivot for The Rock. The report that Tony Khan was firing people because of budget cuts, which he literally told people. The report on AJ Styles looking to retire at the end of this contract. The report on Roman Reigns looking to take a break. The report on NXT Asia. It's been a good time for Tom Colohue. And you guys are making that happen. You guys are making that happen. Spider-Man says, every year WWE says this is the biggest WrestleMania of all time. At the end of it, just depends on the opinion of everyone. Vegeta says there can be no next Undertaker. He's a GOAT. HCar says, any news on Undertaker showing up at WrestleMania? To my knowledge, he's not in town. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's not, though. Just going to throw that out there. That does not necessarily mean that he's not. Alyssa says, do you get the Rock versus Cody Rhodes SummerSlam Lux main event SummerSlam? No. Blue says, am I crazy to think Tony said he wouldn't be doing cuts like this, that he would honour contracts, which is why he expects wrestlers to do the same? Yes. Chris says, Bailey is a GOAT. Guys, did you get ads when you joined? Because YouTube has just told me this entire stream has not been monetized. That's a problem for me. Because that's a problem for me. Have you guys actually seen ads during the show? The amount of people in here suggests it, and Marcel did mention earlier. Okay, that's a problem. Great. So YouTube just arbitrarily decided that this stream wasn't monetized. Fantastic. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up at this point because I've got an hour and a half to essentially take a nap before we kick in for SmackDown. I will be live for the SmackDown watch party. Please do join me there if you can, and I'll answer any questions that you have during that period. Until then, as usual, we part in such sweet sorrow. I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.